that it's not a disruption and it's actually hindering the growth. Welcome to Organisationsdiplomaten. My name is Thomas and today I want to talk about innovation, radical innovation. And one of the core books that we have on that topic is Innovation Dilemma by Christensen from 1997. And in that book, that is an academic book of 240 pages, he goes into this dilemma that companies face that are innovative and creating new products, but as a new generation of product emerges, they lose out on the market. And it's a really curious case of multiple companies throughout multiple years having that problem, that they miss out on the next technology. Why is that? The phenomenon that he worked on is called radical innovation, or as we know it today by its name, disruption. And I have seen a lot of embedded founders trying to disrupt. And I want to go into one aspect of disruption, and that is complicating the use case for the customer. So most embedded developers are not familiar with the operations and the thought and the usage of the product. I rarely have seen in my 15 years software developers being in the production side or being on customer premises. And whenever they are on customer premises, they feel very uncomfortable not discovering how the customer is using it. That is a very generic observation that I made, so I wanted to make it crystal clear to show you the trap of complicating the daily life. And to do that, we start with a very easy use case. That's a bowl of water that you give your animal, mostly cats or dogs, throughout the day when you're not at work. So there are multiple bowls out there, from metal to ceramic to, using normal bowls out of the kitchen. A bowl gets dirty, and a bowl is pretty boring. It's a commodity. Dirty by the animal that is drinking out of it. So food comes in, from the fur comes in, and other contaminants. So you need to clean out this bowl on a daily basis, otherwise it gets filthy fast. I used to have guinea pigs, and with guinea pigs you have the advantage of using bottles and dripped water dispensers. They are much cleaner, but also those you need to clean. So how do you disrupt dispensers? And one of the favorites that I have seen now, it sprinkles up water up in the middle. It's a huge container. So the advantages is that you have a huge bowl of water, and it's now an active stream of water, right? The animal, those producers claim, interacts with running water much more favorable than with static waters. So you buy this and you think, great, we have a breakthrough innovation. Instead of a commodity of just a bowl, we now have a container with water, and water that is moving, entertaining the animal, having more fun. Attached to that, there are now cameras on top of it with IoT devices connecting to the internet, and speakers and sensors, so you can interact while you're not at home with the animal. But coming back to the core element of water dispenser, the problem that you always need a pump, that there is a stream. And that pump needs power supply, meaning the whole reservoir of water that you have is useless as soon as the pump stops. Power outage, supply power defect, cable defect, motor defect, flow, like the animal drops something, it gets stuck. So from a risk analysis, you now have introduced multiple risks, and the only risk that you have taken off the table is that the animal can topple, right? If we have a small bowl, the cat or dog steps into the bowl, it could topple it. There are already such water bowls that are topple proof by construction and design. So you added a lot of complexities and risk to the product with a gimmicky or actual improvement of one. But here comes now the second part, and that is the overlooked part. Until now, this is an intellectual discussion, and I went, checked the various devices, we bought one, based on the discussion I had. But what we realized is that you need to clean the pump way more than you need to clean a ball. Because now you need specialty tools to get the grime out of all the surfaces. The second thing that we realized is that on top, where the water comes out, is only a very small amount of water. So I thought, great, we now have like a liter of water. We can leave the cat for 1 or 2 days, and they have water in a case of emergency. But if the water flow stops for whatever reasons, and we already discussed 5 of them, then the cat is left with much less water. So this is a trap of always trying to radicalize, improve, and disrupt a product that does not need improvements via technology. So somebody figured out that this pump costs less than $2. It could add a gimmick or even a use case that is preferable, but the whole system has been degraded to the point that we do not trust that system, and we do not trust it to be clean enough. So don't fall into that trap. Always go talk to your customers, understand the customer needs, and understand that if you bring more technology into their system, it needs to be integrated to a point where the operator doesn't feel that this is a burden, doesn't feel it's a gimmick, and overall you introduce too much risks to their system.